right, beautiful people. So we're talking about relating fractions, decimals, and percents. Let me see if I can get this thing to focus. There we go. And a lot of what we're doing in our new unit or module 2, lesson 2-3 is just understanding that fractions, decimals, and percents are all part of a whole. They can be greater than one whole, less than one whole. It could be fractions, mixed numbers, any kind of percent, any kind of fraction, any kind of decimal. It's easy to convert between those different forms, and I'm going to show you how to do that basically today. So if I start with a fraction, any fraction, you can always take a fraction and convert it to a decimal by dividing the numerator by the denominator. Fraction just means it's a division problem. So if I have 7 over 20, well, I could connect it to 100, and I'm going to show you that in a second, but I'm going to just show you if I do 7 divided by 20, that gives me a decimal of 0.35. So if I divide the numerator by the denominator, I get 0.35, and that's when you divide numerator by the denominator. Now, using the ratio relationships and things that we've recently been working on, you can also make a ratio comparison model where I have 7:20, and I'm going to see what that is compared to 100. If I were to convert that to a percent, if I have a ratio model with 100%, and I want to see what the part percent is, I know that 20 times 5 is 100, and 7 times 5 is 35, which means that would be 35%. Now, also, because you are in a relationship where it's parts per 100, you can take that original decimal where you divided the numerator by the denominator, multiply that times 100, and that would give you 35%. Because it just simply is just moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right when you multiply by 100. So you can multiply the decimal 0.35 by 100 to get a percent. Okay, if I have a crazy looking one, like 67 over 20, now that could be a mixed number. I could also do like we did here, divide the numerator by the denominator. I could make a connection with the ratio model. Let's say I wanted to make this into a percent. I'm going to start by using the ratio model and convert that. I'm just going to use what I have here, 20 into 100%. Remember, percent is parts per 100. You're always going to put whatever you have in your percent model over 100. Again, that's times 5. And I can do 67 times 5, and I don't know what that is in my head, but let me see what that is. 67 times 5 is 335. So that would be 335%. Now, as a mixed number, I could write that as 20 goes into 63 times, and 3 times 20 is 60, plus 7, so 3 and 7 over 20th. Or if I wanted to make that into a decimal, this is it as a mixed number, that would be, let's see, 7 times 5, that would be 3.35, because 3 goes to 7 over 20. If I were to make that into 100ths, that would be 335 out of 100. And I could do the same thing, 20 times 5, 7 times 5, so that would be 3.35, or 3 and 35 over 100. Same thing. So here we have it as a improper fraction. Here we have it as a mixed number. Here we have it as a mixed number connected to 100, which that could be simplified, but this is the connection between the decimal and that. The 335, if I divide that by 100, I can make it into a decimal. You're just moving the decimal space 2 places to the left. So to go from a percent to a decimal, you divide the decimal by 100. It's the same thing as move the decimal two spaces left. So if you look at what we're doing here, converting between fraction, decimal, percent, it doesn't matter what your value is. It's easy to convert between the units. If I had, say, I don't know, 63%. If I wanted to make 63% into a decimal, I'm just going to divide that by 100 or move my decimal two spaces to the left, and that becomes 0.63. As a fraction, that's going to be 63 over 100. So, percent, decimal, fraction. If I have 1 2/5, or let's do 1 3/5. 1 3/5 as a fraction. If I want to make that into a decimal, it's going to be 1 point something, but I've got to make that into something that's convertible into 100. Or I could take the 1 and keep that as my whole number and do my 3 divided by 5 equals, that's 6/10. So it's going to be 1.6 as a decimal. To make that as a percent, it's parts per 100. So take that times 100, and that becomes 160%. So fraction, decimal, percent. There's your 3 values for each. If I made that 1 times 5 is 5 plus 3 is 8, if I did 8 over 5, same thing. I could do 8 divided by 5, and that gives me 1.6, which is the same. So all of those show us how to convert or relate fractions to decimals and percents. And as long as you look at what you have and you can get it into, well, you could get it into any form, but it's always easiest to take the fraction, divide the numerator by the denominator to get the decimal, and then multiply that times 100 to get the percent. Or if you have the percent, divide by 100 to get the decimal, or put that over the 100. Now, if you look at something where you have like a crazy kind of decimal, like if something is over 1,000, you would just simplify it down and get it to where you're working. But any fraction that you have, you can convert easily into a decimal and into a percent. If I have something that looks just totally weird, like, I don't know, let's see, let's do 157 over 43. Now this is going to be kind of a crazy looking decimal, but if I did that, I could have 147 divided by, no wait, 157, excuse me, 157 divided by 43 equals, now you've got 3.651 blah, 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 blah on. I'm going to look to the nearest hundredths and round that, and that would be a decimal 3.65. As I round that to a percent, it's going to be 365%. And because of this, I would not go, if you think about how we're going out tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths, usually I'll round to the hundredths or the thousandths place, but that gives me 365% right there. So lots of ways, pretty easy to do. You just have to set them up and look at what you have and think about how to convert between the two values. Oops, I don't want that. I want to stop the recording. Y'all have a great day.